I have a local New York City story for you today. It's about Eric Adams and the way he's been corrupted by the Trump regime and the way the Trump regime is corrupting mayors and cities around America. When Trump won this second time, I started thinking, I wonder how long it's going to be before other politicians try to emulate him in all his crass and cruel ways. And I started thinking, how long will it be before Democrats start using foul language more often? They had had the dignity not to do that up until that point. And now I'm sorry to say I'm hearing Democrats more and more using, the F word and language like that, which I think, I don't care what you do in private, but just keep it in private. I don't want to hear that in public. Have some dignity. Rise above this level. Anyway, Trump is bringing everything down. Everything he's bringing down, literally. I am going to show you a quick video. This is about e-scooters and bicycles in New York. The city's the city the mayor's been cracking down on them, which I actually think is a great thing because they're very dangerous and they can cause a lot of damage. Let me show you a video that a friend sent me. This happened near him. He lives across the river in New Jersey, just on the other side of Manhattan. And watch this video where over here on the left side of the screen, you're going to see a little boy, probably 15, 16-year-old boy, come on a scooter and go straight through this light. He's running a red light, as is evidenced by the fact that this red pickup truck is stopped there. Watch him come through this intersection and watch how a guy in a large pickup truck almost hits him and kills him. But also watch for what damage is done, even though thankfully nobody was hurt or killed. Miraculously, literally. Check this out. There he comes. Yikes. Okay, one more time. Wow. So you see, nobody was hurt. Watch, the man's going to get out of the car in a minute. And
What? Yo, bro! You just crossed it. It's a green light.
okay, you saw him yell at him. Didn't curse, no foul language, nothing. Didn't chase him down, didn't try to beat him up, nothing. This little kid just destroyed his car. He totaled his car. And he totaled the car in front of him that the car that he hit when he tried to stop. He crashed into a car. All right. So the kid is maybe 15, 16 years old. He's on a little, what do you call those things? Scooter thing, whatever. That little two-wheel thing. It looks harmless, right? Like how much damage could that thing cause in a little kid who's not even old enough to drive? So not only did he cause a ton of damage, two total cars, it turned out in the end, but two people could have lost their lives. Another three or four could have if he'd had passengers in the car. If his seatbelt wasn't on, if his airbag wasn't working, he could have died. Passengers could have died. If there'd been anybody in the car that he hit, they could have died. They could have lost their lives over a $50 scooter that a little kid's driving. So when I saw that, I was so shocked by it. And it's hitting so close to home because, in New York, you walk out of your building and the minute you hit the sidewalk, there's some scooter or bicycle guy going by. It's illegal. They're not supposed to be on the sidewalks, but they do it all the time. And it's a real danger for pedestrians. So I've been advocating, you know, laws that regulate these drivers, so-called drivers, the same way they do cars. Not because their vehicle or their device is so expensive and so dangerous as a car, but because it can cause as much damage as a car. It can kill people. It can seriously injure people. So all kinds of damage can be caused by these things. So the city of New York started cracking down on it, which I thought was a good thing. And then news comes out this morning on Streets Blog NYC that Community Board 3 on the Lower East Side of Manhattan was striking out against the mayor and saying, wait, no, this crackdown's too much. And when I saw the headline, Lower East Side panel joins growing chorus against Tish's e-bike criminalization, I thought, wait, why are they against this? This is a good thing. You got to make this a serious, a serious penalty so these guys stop doing this. Well, I started reading into the story and then I realized it's all connected. It's all connected to Trump, who pardoned Eric Adams, who was under investigation by the Justice Department before Trump came into office. Tons of evidence. They investigated him for at least 2 years of corruption, of taking bribes from the Turkish government and Turkish companies, all kinds of terrible things. The guy is so corrupt, it's not even funny. And our president, who's going to fight corruption, pardoned him. No, sorry, he didn't pardon him. He dropped the case. He told the Justice Department, drop the case. They worked out a deal. You do what I want, I'll drop the case. Help us on immigration enforcement, I'll drop the case. Because remember, New York has been a sanctuary city, and the mayor had long promised that he would protect our immigrants, as New York has always done, which has contributed, in my opinion, to making New York the greatest city in America and making America the greatest country in the world. Okay, I know that'll anger a few people. But anyway, here's the thing. This mayor campaigned on protecting immigrants. He said he would protect them. Now, my opinion is if you're an immigrant and maybe you're not fully documented, or maybe you're on your way to being fully documented, especially if you're going through the process, you should be allowed to stay until the process completes. And in fact, under immigration law, if you have started the process and they have allowed you to stay, then you are here legally. You're not illegal anymore. Okay. So if you're in that situation, maybe you don't have a green card yet, but you're in the process of getting it, and they've always told you, stay here until we finish the process. You can stay until this process finishes. Then they're here legally. And if they're working a job, they're not the hardcore criminals, because guess what? Hardcore criminals don't work dirty street jobs delivering pizza and delivering McDonald's and delivering from the local restaurant or the neighborhood restaurant. That's not what hardcore criminals do. They're out on the streets selling drugs, trafficking, whatever they do. That's their full-time job. So if you're here semi-legally and you're working in this kind of work, deliveries on bikes mainly, you're not one of the hardcore. You're not the worst of the worst. You're not the murderers. You're not the rapists. You're not the child traffickers and all that. You're not those things. So let these people stay. These restaurants need them. The people of New York need them. We all need these people. Our city functions on these people. It functions smoothly on these people. Life would be much harder if they weren't here for a lot of us, for everybody pretty much. So anyway, Community Board 3 came out against this, and I'm thinking, what are they thinking? Why are they doing this? And here's here's what happened. I read the rest of the story. Suddenly it all made sense. It all made sense. Look how our mayor has been corrupted, and he's literally changing his actions to hurt people who are here legally, people who aren't committing crimes, people who have every right to be here because they've been told by the government that they can be here. And he is putting them in a position where they could be shipped off to a prison where they might spend the rest of their lives. That's what this boils down to. That's the reality of what's going on. If you're MAGA and you say, well, we need to clamp down on this stuff. Okay, I agree. But let's do what Trump said. Let's do what he promised. He's going to clamp down on the worst of the worst, on the real criminals, and on the illegal people, the undocumented people who are here, whatever, illegally, a misdemeanor, whatever, but they're here illegally and they need to get their paperwork done and they haven't. So you want to send them back? I'm okay with keeping most of them if they're not committing crimes. But I understand if you want to send them back, the law is the law and all that, then okay, I'm okay with that. But you got to do it fairly. You got to do it with due process. You got to do it in the right way. And if your government has made a promise to them that they can stay, then you can't send them back. It's unjust. It's unfair. But this mayor is now putting people like that in a position to not just get sent back to their home countries, which is bad enough in a lot of cases, because they'll go back to where gangs will try to kill them, or the government might be after them, whatever. But he's putting them in jeopardy of being sent to some place they've never been, like South Sudan, a terrorist center. It's like a enclave for terrorists. And we're sending people there who've never been there and have no ties to there. What are we doing in this country? Sending them to CICOT in El Salvador, a prison where the men are tortured. And where they are destined to spend the rest of their lives unless something intervenes to get them out. So you literally want to take somebody who's here legally, they've gotten documented since they've been here, they're going through the process, they're working a real job, an honest job, not a crime job, they're not criminals, and they're making life nicer for everyone in town, and you want to send them back, then go ahead, send them back, but do it right. Send them to their home countries or send them to another country where they want to go that will accept them. But don't send them to a concentration camp where they might spend the rest of their lives. That's what this Eric Adams is willing to do to save his skin. And the sick thing is, a court already ruled when the court accepted this agreement that the Justice Department would drop the case. The court said you will not be able to bring the case again. So the administration had been thinking, we'll hold this over his head. We'll drop the case, but if he doesn't do what we want, we'll open it back up. But the judge said, no, can't do that. This is going to be final, and that's it. So it was final. They can't bring this case back up. But he knows they could bring up any number of other cases probably. So look what he's willing to do. NYPD Commissioner Jessica Tisch's criminal crackdown on e-bike riders must immediately end, a Manhattan Community Board unanimously resolved this week. The entirety of Community Board 3 on the Lower East Side voted on Tuesday night to condemn the NYPD policy under Tisch and Mayor Adams to issue critical summonses for minor traffic violations committed by e-bike users, adding its voice to the growing chorus of New Yorkers making clear they disapprove of the sweeping punitive crackdown that threatens to put immigrant delivery workers in the crosshairs of ICE. Now listen to this. NYPD must immediately end the policy of issuing criminal court summonses to cyclists for low-level traffic violations and find another way to mitigate or to mitigate lack of compliance with regulations. Got to find another way to do it. So in other words, what New York City is doing under Mayor Adams, he's turned these traffic violations into crimes. So now these guys, instead of just facing a traffic ticket, $100, they're actually facing criminal charges. And what do we know about immigrants, even who are here completely legally, who are facing any kind of criminal charges, no matter how minor? What do we know? We'll get to it in a minute if you don't know already. Police have targeted cyclists with criminal court summonses for minor traffic violations for going on 3 months at the behest of top police brass and the mayor. Cyclists have found themselves charged for violations as minor as stopping partway into intersections and wearing headphones. So stopping partway in an intersection, if you want to get technical about it, if your bike wheel goes 1 inch over that white line, get a summons for a crime. You committed a crime. Imagine the penalty for your bike wheel going 1 inch over that line being life in prison, life in CCOT, life in a concentration camp. That's not right. No one can say that's right. But a lot of people, a lot of Trump supporters are saying, I'm fine with that. Send him back. He committed a crime. Tell me your wheel's never gone over by 1 inch in your life. Come on. We all know everybody has done things like that. And get this, car drivers, meanwhile, who commit similar violations get slapped with mere fines, not criminal charges, despite posing more danger to pedestrians. An approach multiple attendees of an earlier meeting slammed as disproportionate. So that's right. Cars who go 1 inch over the line, first of all, they're not going to get a ticket at all. But because they do it, you have to do it. You can't drive around here without going over the line. Light turns red, people are crossing, you got to stop where you can stop. And you'll often be over the line. So they know that's an easy crime if they want to turn that into a crime. But for a car driver, it's not a crime. But for a guy on a bicycle who's 90% likely to be an immigrant, it's a crime. Okay? They are trying to find ways to help the Trump administration meet that 3,000 a day goal for arrest. That's all they're doing. That's all they're doing. Hey, we can send you 1,000 new people a month. Will that help? Sure. Get Dallas on board, get Atlanta on board, get Miami on board, get all these cities on board. And then we got our 3,000 a day. Amazing. Summonses for e-bike users have skyrocketed tenfold since the police began their campaign against two-wheelers. In April, Gothamist reported on when I don't know. There's some bad writing here, I have to say. A lot of little grammatical mistakes. Anyway, about 6,000 cyclists have had to show up to court. So 6,000 of these guys who are delivery drivers, they're forced to report to court for their hearings. They lose a day's pay. They're struggling to make ends meet as it is, and they have to go through this huge hassle. And at the end of it, they're going to walk out of court, and the minute they walk out, an ICE agent's going to be there and pick them up and take them down to CCOT for the rest of their lives. Members of both the board and public who spoke at the June 8th meeting worried that she's the police commissioner, her push to send delivery drivers to criminal court clears a path for the Trump administration to label them criminals and arrest and deport them. That's exactly what this is all about. This is so evil. The corruption's gone so low. And the people in New York, I've never seen them so angry at a mayor. They used to despise Michael Bloomberg. I remember going to the what's that race called? The New York, yeah, the New York Marathon one year when Bloomberg was mayor and he was there, little short guy, about, I don't know, 5'8" or so. And the crowd was standing around. It hadn't quite gathered, people were loosely milling about. And Bloomberg was standing there talking to a couple of his aides. And the people 6, 10 feet away from him were like yelling at him, insults. Hey, Michael Bloomberg, you're doing a terrible job. Get out of here. We hate your guts. I'm like, what's wrong with these people? Like, have a little respect. But anyway, they didn't like him at all, but they really despise Eric Adams. And Cuomo is going to run for mayor, not as a Democrat, as an independent, because he lost the Democratic primary. New Yorkers despise him. But the believe me, watch this. The Trump administration wants to get Mamdani, whatever his name is, out of the race. They're saying, well, let's deport him. Let's see if he's even here legally. All this, all this crazy stuff. You know why they want to get him out of the race? Because they want Cuomo or Adams to win. Because Adams has already shown he'll bend the knee. He'll do whatever they want. And they already know that Cuomo is corrupt because of what he did with all those women. And, he's corrupt. He's been in politics so long in New York. They know they have all the rap sheet on him. So they know they can make him do what they want to. So they want to get Mamdani out of it and either have Adams or Cuomo as the next mayor. So it'll be interesting to watch. Keep an eye out for that. Pay attention to New York and you'll see some things going on behind the scenes that a lot of people aren't paying attention to right now. All right. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. And I will see you next time.